spectacular motorsports on the planet. And the sport here in New Zealand has seen a resurgence over the past couple of years. The feature event on the New Zealand motorcycle racing calendar is the Backflips Clothing New Zealand Supercross Championships. Let's have a look back at the 2011 SX Lights category, with the first round of the championship held under lights in Tokoroa. Scott Collum was the defending champ, didn't get a great start to the first heat, battling initially with Honda's Peter Broxham and Suzuki's Kane Lamont. Collum would come through to take victory and the round, but unfortunately a knee injury would see him miss the rest of the championship. On to Taupo for the second round, and it was Craig Smith who would dominate, having gone into the round just 5th overall in the points after struggling initially in Tokoroa. Smith absolutely dominated the action in Taupo and would head to the next round in Motueka as the points leader. While Craig Smith was the dominant rider, the likes of Kawasaki's Nick Saunders and Suzuki's Kane Lamont were not too far away, but it was all for the Honda rider heading into the next round. At Motueka, it was Craig Smith's championship to lose, aided by the fact that Scott Collum did not contest rounds 2, 3 and 4, succumbing to that knee injury from the first round. Saunders came into form, he took it to Craig Smith, but Smith would head to Timaru for the final round as the championship leader. So solid finishes was all Smith needed to tie up the New Zealand Supercross Championships, and that's what he did, with some of the other riders having some issues. Craig Smith, 2011 New Zealand Lights Champion in Supercross Lights. So it's on to 2012, the Backflips Clothing New Zealand Supercross Championships would open up in Timaru. An Australian, Geraint Stapleton, would take it to Scotty Collum, returning after that knee injury. Heat number 1. And it was the Australian on the outside with the whole shot. Scotty Collum through the first turn back in about 5th early. Fast starting Cam Dillon also got monstered by Reece Carter off the start. Carter slotting into 2nd in the Moto City Suzuki RMZ 250. So Geraint Stapleton recently finished 2nd in the under-19s for the Australian Motocross Championship, dominating the final round. Good to see another top Aussie plying his trade here in New Zealand. As he rode away chased by Carter, Scott Collum was trying to make up lost ground after that slower start in the first moto. Geraint Stapleton running for the BCP Honda Fox Racing Team out of Australia on the Honda CRF 250. As Stapleton rode away to about a 3-second lead, the battle was on for 2nd between Reece Carter and Scotty Collum. Collum with this big block pass. The two side by side, battling for the minors. The two Suzukis chasing down the Honda. Just 3 seconds covering the top 3 as Collum came back to narrow the gap and nearly made the pass, but the Aussie moved him up the hill, dropping him back to 3rd again. No love lost between the Kiwi and the Australian. So Collum had to come back around Carter again. And that's how they would finish for heat number 1. Geraint Stapleton, the young Australian, and Scott Collum in 2nd, Reece Carter in 3rd.
Yeah, it was a good race. Got a decent start, which I was a bit surprised about, but track's really good, and Scott Collum was really close at the start, and then sort of got together, but it was a good race, and hopefully back it up in the next one.
As Geraint Stapleton said, this is a fabulous facility, the Backflips Supercross track in Timaru. Race 2 for SX Lights, Backflips New Zealand Supercross Championships. Again, it was fast starting Cam Dillon with the whole shot this time. We've seen that from the young Honda rider over the last couple of seasons. But it was Scott Collum who'd moved to the inside, chased by Geraint Stapleton, who got a bad run through the whoops and cost him some time on the opening lap. Collum leading from Cam Dillon. Collum won the New Zealand Supercross Champs 2 seasons ago, as we saw in the 2011 review. damaged a knee, and that sat him out for basically the whole of last season. Colin was controlling things out in front on the off-road adventures RMZ 250 Suzuki. And the battle was on for third. Dylan still in that second spot. As Durant Stapleton chased down Mason Phillips. Phillips also returning after injury last season in New Zealand. Stapleton got around Phillips, then got by Cam Dillon to move into the second position. Trying to close the gap down to Colin, but Colin would win by 3 seconds at the checkered flag. That would make it 1-1 between the Kiwi and the Australian. Scott Colin taking the victory in heat number 2 from Stapleton and Cam Dillon. So heat number 3, the tiebreaker between Colin and Stapleton for the round win. A win and a second apiece. Colin with the block pass up the top and moved the Australian over, and down went Durant Stapleton. We saw it clash in the first heat. It continued on here in the third heat. No holds barred from Scott Colin. Suzuki 1 and 2 with Colin leading from Reece Carter. Stapleton picking himself up. We would have to mount a charge to try and get back inside the top 3. Losing a good 20 to 25 plus seconds with that down at the first turn. Colin looking to take out the round and the lead like he did a year ago into the second round of the championship. Durant Stapleton was on a mission, but it wasn't enough. Colin just controlling about a 3-second advantage over Reece Carter, with Mason Phillips having his best run of the day in third. Phillips in the Kawasaki New Zealand KX250 Kawasaki. 2 wins out of 3 start. Colin celebrating before the checkered flag with the win from Carter and Phillips.
Yeah, it is a good start. It's been a long time since I've been racing, a couple of years due to injury, and to come back with a 2-1-1 result for the day is great. My Suzuki is working well. It took a few modifications in practice to sort it out, blow out the cobwebs, and the last moto was good, and I'm really happy with how things have gone. The track was fun. The sponsors, everyone who helped me get back into racing has been fantastic.
So a fast and healthy Scott Colin leading after 1 round, 57 points. During Stapleton second on 48, and Reece Carter third on 43 points. Looking back to 2011 for the SX Open class, and it would be Cody Cooper, Justin McDonald and Josh Coppins going at it for the Supercross title. Again, under lights, spectacular track in Tokoroa. Josh Coppins taking the opening heat win. Certainly pushed all the way by Cody Cooper and J Mack. On to Taupo for round number 2. Coppins looking to consolidate that points lead. Cody Cooper certainly wouldn't give it up. Some great starts, but proving he was human, he made a mistake in the second moto, handing the lead to a resurgent Josh Coppins. Also having problems, Michael Phillips going down on the number 105 Honda. But again, like the opening round, it was Josh Coppins' day. Cody Cooper bouncing back with a victory later on in the round. Coppins would head to Motueka, his home track, at the Rat Track, as the points leader. And again, it was the usual suspects at the top: Coppins, Cooper, McDonald and Mikey P. But the home track advantage is all Josh Coppins needed. Spectacular racing at the Rat Track. Justin McDonald having a strong day as well, coming back into the reckoning, pressuring Cody Cooper for second overall. McDonald, after Motueka, moved into second in the points. Coppins just needed some solid finishes to tie up the Supercross crown. Certainly the battle for second was on between McDonald and Cody Cooper. After a tough start, Justin McDonald pretty much dominated the round to consolidate second overall in the championship, taking the victory in at least 2 of the motos. But it was not enough to deny Josh Coppins the New Zealand Supercross title for the Open class in 2011. On to 2012, and like lights where Craig Smith was not able to defend his title to injury, surprisingly no Josh Coppins at the opening round to defend the Open class for 2012. So all eyes on the reigning New Zealand motocross champ Cody Cooper at the first round, and certainly taking it to him would be the likes of Justin McDonald, Brad Groombridge and Mason Phillips for the opening round. Cooper coming back to New Zealand after a strong run in Australia, but like Coppins, he was also injured during the Australian Motocross Champs. Early in this first seat, there was a couple going down at the rear of the field. Cooper eventually finishing 8th in the Australian title after missing a round and a half in the early rounds. Coppins getting injured at the end of the championship while leading, still finished 2nd overall. But here in Timaru, Justin McDonald taking it to Cody Cooper. And these two have certainly traded a little bit of paint over the last few seasons of Supercross and Motocross. And it's exactly how it went, with McDonald making this pass through the first corner to take the lead in the first heat. Cooper just settled himself back, mounted a challenge with a big block pass. Tough, no-holds-barred racing between the leading two in Open. And McDonald again getting back in front. Cooper crossed him over. The lead changing multiple times in this exciting first heat. Side by side over the finish line jump, and it was McDonald back into the lead again. Cooper back up the inside, and that was it. Big move from Cody Cooper. McDonald having to recover and come back on course, just in front of Brad Groombridge. Here's the replay. After passing each other 4 or 5 times, Cooper with the block pass, just shouldering his way past Justin McDonald. So a bit of controversy in the first heat. Cooper taking the win. McDonald recovering to 2nd ahead of Brad Groombridge.
It's hard to pass out there, and so Justin was doing everything he could to pass, and you know, you have to do some risky stuff there, and it slows both of us down. So you know, and then I was trying to get past him when he got past, but I was trying to be too nice, and he was cutting through, so I had to slam it in there at one stage just to, you know, get the pass done, and because the track's so tight, and you just have to make the move while you do it in that one corner, I suppose.
We've raced each other now for the last 6-7 years, and it's always been the same. I'll do it to him, he'll do it to me, and it's just, you know, that was a 50-50 chance who'd come out better off, and unfortunately it was my side that pointed the flip, but we're good in the next one, and looking forward to the 2 back-to-backs.
Well, a war of words before the break between Cody Cooper and Justin McDonald. I don't know if you can call it a war of words, but on to heat number 2. Fast starting Cody Cooper on the outside. McDonald running him up the hill off the start, dropping the number 1 back. So McDonald showing his intentions early, moving the winner of heat 1 over off the start down into turn number 1. Groombridge slotting into that 3rd position. Battle for 3rd, Brad Groombridge on the 701 Forest and General Security Honda, and 741 Matt Hunt, CGM Motorcycles YZ450F. Again out in front, McDonald continuing to hold off Cody Cooper, looking for his first victory here at the first round of the Backlit Supercross track in Timaru. Cooper unable to do anything about it. He nearly got him on the line. It was that close. McDonald taking the win from Cooper with Brad Groombridge in 3rd. Photo finish for the 2nd heat. Just 4/100ths of a second between Justin McDonald and Cody Cooper. 1-all for the round. Cooper getting the whole shot at the start of heat number 3. McDonald to his inside. Again with Hunt and Grubridge sliding into that third spot. McDonald aggressively up the inside this time again to take over the lead. Whoever won this heat would win the rounds. Very, very close for the opening round of the championship here in Timaru. Cooper again with the block pass, just about coming to a standstill, both riders. As Matt Hunt slotted into that third position again, looking for the final podium in the final moto. So with McDonald winning the second heat, Cooper did set the fastest lap of the race. McDonald setting the fastest lap of the race here on lap number 2. But he'd be chasing down Cody Cooper as Grubridge and Hunt continued their battle for the third and final podium, both for the heats and for the round. But Cooper would take the third heat and the round ahead of Justin McDonald and Brad Grubridge.
Felt like my fitness wasn't there like it has been, like I've been training for the last 3 months, and yeah, just the time off, I think over New Year's and stuff. I'm just happy to come out to win, really.
So just 3 points covering the top 2 in the open class for the backflips. New Zealand Supercross champs Cody Cooper leading from Justin McDonald with Brad Grubridge in third. The Rat Track in Motueka was the venue for round number 2. We caught up with track series commentator Neil Ritchie and some of the riders with their thoughts on the track.
Today's round number 2 of our New Zealand Supercross champs. The backflips action certainly hot at Timaru last week, and the penultimate round of the 3-round series, so there's some work to do for riders. We've got a fabulous track, everybody loves it here at the Rat Track. It's big, it's open, it's fast, it's high flying, it's exciting, so there's some moves to make. Perfect conditions here, water well down laid overnight, and should hold nicely. In fact, we always want sun in the summer, but a little bit of cloud cover today will be really nice to stop that moisture being absorbed. So looking forward to a great day.
It's going to be a difficult track to pass on today. It's always really one line, especially when it's wet like this, it makes it more difficult. So the racing that there's going to be is kind of tight, and we're going to kind of push each other around a little bit.
The track's pretty good. They've watered a bit overnight, and it's getting better and better as the day goes on. They got down the diggers just before our qualifying, made things a lot easier for us, but still a few more touches that need to be done, but it'll get there. It'll be good for the racing once it dries out.
I find it fairly open compared to what we have at home, but it was quite hard to get used to at the start with the jumps. They're sort of all different and not the same, but once we got it down in the first practice yesterday, it was all good, and yeah, looking forward to the racing. And the track's not too bad. Hopefully some of that mud comes off it, but yeah, it should be good by racing time.
Big story at the start of the round. Stapleton struggling a little bit in qualifying, only managing the 5th fastest time. Points leader Scott Collum, the top qualifier as we head into heat number 1. And as the rider said, there was a fair bit of water and mud in the early laps for round number 2 of the Backflips Clothing New Zealand Supercross champs. So Collum looking to maintain that points lead, chased initially by Stapleton, who got a great start. Micah McGoldrick making his first start of the championship, battling there with Mason Phillips for the 3rd spot. Another fabulous Supercross track. And this is where last year, the 2 South Island rounds, that Craig Smith really got his break after getting the points lead after Taupo, but no Craig Smith defending his title, an off-season injury halting his progress. Micah McGoldrick going down in the first heat, ending his chances. He would be back for heat number 2, but Scotty Collum, another win on the number 2 Off-Road Adventures RNZ 250 ahead of Stapleton, Carter, Dillon and Kent Morley. Second heat again, it was Scott Collum with the early advantage. Chased by McGoldrick this time, he got back up after that down in heat number 1. Stapleton with some work to do in the second heat, was back in 4th in the early laps. As Collum again looked to take control out in front, trying to hold on to that points lead, which he extended over the Australian in heat number 1. But with a pretty handy advantage, Collum made the mistake, losing the front end of the Suzuki. And that would hand the lead to the young Australian. And from then on, it was all on between the Aussie and the Kiwi in heat number 2. Durant Stapleton would hold on to it 1-0 again for the second round. Scott Collum second, Reece Carter in third ahead of Micah McGoldrick and Cameron Dillon.
Just last lap, you know, the whoopie-doos were quite tricky, and I just slowed down, and then when I went around the right-hand corner, I just hit a little slick patch of water and tucked the front wheel and went down and bent the radiator and threw away the win, which is very frustrating, you know, as I had a good ride and it was an easy win and I blew it, so I'm kicking myself, but I just got to go out and win the next one and then, move on.
Heat number 3 and the points gap still 9 as it started the weekend off the back of the first round in Timaru. Collum getting the initial jump. Stapleton didn't get a very good jump at the start of heat number 3. It was Reece Carter and Cameron Dillon going at it for the minors in the early laps. Collum looking to extend his championship lead, and this could be the defining moment with the young Aussie back in the 4th position. Collum taking control, Reece Carter sliding into second. The battle between himself and Cameron Dillon, with Stapleton still back in 4th. And that's how it would finish in the end. Scott Collum taking the victory and the second consecutive round on the Suzuki. Collum with the Heat 3 victory from Carter, Dillon, Stapleton and Micah McGoldrick.
It wasn't too bad. Ended up second overall. I guess that's better than nothing, but didn't ride too well. I got lucky in that second race when Scott went down, but just happy to get out of here healthy and move on to the next round in Taupo.
Disappointment there for the young Aussie. Scott Collum extending the championship lead, 114 points, Stapleton 98, Reece Carter 88, getting to the final round in Taupo. The big news, however, in Open was the return of hometown favourite Josh Coppins.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. A little bit out of shape, just trying to ride back into fitness. I've been back on the bike in New Zealand for about 3 weeks now. But with the weather we've had, I just haven't had the bike time. And I'm building up from a 4-month injury, so it's tough, but each week's improving, so that's a good point, I guess.
Track's a lot better than yesterday. They watered it a lot. It's quite muddy in practice, so I pulled out the first 2 practices and just did qualifying. So got a good gate pick, but Josh has got the starts today, so I'm going to have to find a start there somewhere in that last race and make it a bit easier.
Cooper was the top qualifier. Josh Coppins, though, winning the pole shootout, so having gate choice here at his home track at the Rat Track in Motueka. Coppins, the reigning New Zealand Supercross champ, having not contested the first round, he would be out of the points chase. So heat number 1, it was Coppins and Cooper going at it just like 2011 and just like the New Zealand Motocross Championships in 2011 as well. Coppins winning the Supercross title, Cooper winning the New Zealand Motocross title. Cooper with this pass again. Block pass didn't put Coppins over the berm, but it was close. But good to see Coppins back. And certainly in form. Cody Cooper, he's pretty tough to beat at the moment, and they were both ahead of Justin McDonald, who finished 3rd in heat number 1 behind Cooper and Coppins. Matt Howarth, young Australian, in 4th, with Brad Groombridge in 5th. Heat number 2, Coppins getting the whole shot, looking for his first victory of the championship. Again with a little bit of lack of race fitness. He did compete at the Summercross at Matata in the Bay of Plenty. Cooper finishing 2nd to Ben Townley, Coppins in 3rd. Coppins led here from Cooper, McDonald, Matt Howarth, Matt Hunt, Andrew Rudd, and Brad Groombridge in the battle pack. 2 of New Zealand's best went at it again. Cooper riding around the outside of Coppins, who went back up the inside to get into the lead, but Cooper came straight back at him. Coppins on the MXDK Rockstar Yamaha. Cooper on the Moto City Suzuki. They were still side by side. Cooper with the inside line this time as Coppins crossed over, but Cooper took control, eventually getting away from Coppins in the second heat with Justin McDonald in 3rd. And that's how they would finish for heat number 2. Cooper, Coppins, Justin McDonald, Matt Howarth, and Matt Hunt.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Josh missed out on the first round, so I got a lot of points on him there, and Justin was only a couple of points behind me and after the first round. So with Josh in between us, it puts a good points buffer in between there, and just hopefully do it again in the last race.
So on to heat number 3 again. It was Cooper getting the whole shot from Justin McDonald. Josh Coppins back in third. Cooper controlled early, chased by McDonald. It was Coppins on the charge, setting the fastest lap, closing the gap to the race leader, and eventually going by Justin McDonald. Cooper just looking to maintain the championship lead. Coppins was definitely on the hunt, getting by Justin McDonald, and then he went by Cody Cooper to win by 6 seconds, setting the fastest lap of the race at a 1 minute .478. Matt Howard in fourth. Battle 5th and 6th was between Brad Grubridge and Matt Hunt, but it was Josh Coppins taking his first win of the championship ahead of Cody Cooper, with Justin McDonald in third ahead of Matt Howard and Brad Grubridge.
They want to keep the competition. I think the MX1 racing's really good today, so I think they want to keep the good competitive class there for the feature class. So I'll head up there and try and do battle with Cody and Justin, and with another week under my belt in this race, hopefully I'll be even more competitive next week.
So 2 wins from 3 starts at Motueka sees Cody Cooper win the round and continue to lead the championship on 114 points. Justin McDonald second on 99, Brad Groombridge third on 76. Welcome back to the Backflips New Zealand Supercross Championship for 2012. On to Taupo for the final round. The Addiction Supercross track caught up with points leader in lights, Scott Collum.
Scott, final round of New Zealand. You got a nice points buffer going into these 3 races.
Yeah, I do have a little points buffer, 16 points, but I just want to do what I've been doing, is go out there and try and win the overall for the night, and then win the New Zealand title as well. But yeah, it is a little bit more comfortable when you got a little lead. You know, if something does go wrong on this slippery track, then you don't have to panic too much. You know, just kind of finish inside the top 3, and it will be fine from there.
So heat number 1 for SX Lights from the Addiction Supercross Park, right next door to Digger McEwen Park here in Taupo. Great start there from Kieran Lee in the 908. Collins settling into second again, right there with his championship nemesis, Duran Stapleton. Bit of a clash of bars there. I think Carter was right in the middle of that as well. Kieran Lee out in front from Cambridge in the CMR Racing KTM 250. Scotty Collum battling with the leader, looking for the lead. Lee came back at him though to hold on to it. Think about Taupo at a couple of different parts of the track. There's a couple of different lines you can take, inside or outside here. Back into the first corner of the race start out of the gate. Kieran Lee doing a good job in the early laps of heat number 1 for SX Lights. Collum just trying to finish ahead of Stapleton to maintain that 16-point championship lead and his second SX Lights title in 3 years. A huge comeback after that injury during last season's Supercross opener. Another fabulous facility here at the Addiction Supercross track. Lee went down, giving the lead back to Scott Collum, who couldn't believe his luck. But that opened up the opportunity for Stapleton to mount a challenge. The young Aussie up the inside. Struggled a little bit at the previous round in Motueka. Track didn't really suit his riding style as we went to a 3-way battle with Reese Carter joining the party. 2 Suzukis in the Honda. absolutely going at it as Stapleton again tried the block pass for the lead. Collum back to third, Carter slotting into second. And the fourth in the queue was Cam Dillon, who wanted a part of it as well. But Stapleton got away from Collum in the end, taking the win in heat number 1. Reece Carter and Collum settling for third.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I actually wasn't too bad on the start, came out good, got to the inside and came out, I think I was third or something, but had a good battle with Scott and Reece, and then came out for the win, so it was good, and hopefully just keep the momentum for the next two.
Kind of got a bad jump out of the gate and got squashed in, and then kind of got through a little bit, and then a couple of guys made a few mistakes, got me through there, and then the two in front of me parked each other, so I kind of snuck in on them, and then come back next turn later, got it again, so pushed back to second, but yeah, it's alright.
Well, that first heat would have to go down as one of the best Supercross lights races of the summer. Onto heat number 2. Cam Dillon with the whole shot. Collum, though, to the inside to get back into the lead. Carter in there as well. Stapleton right there with them in the 14. So Collum losing a few points in that battle between himself and Stapleton after heat number 1, but what a race it was. Stapleton went down in the late stages of the second heat, taking the pressure off Scotty Collum, taking his first win of the day, ahead of Reece Carter, with Stapleton recovering to third. So all Collum needed was a solid finish in the third and final heat. Carter got the whole shot as Stapleton went down. Carter battling for the lead with Kieran Lee. And Scott Collum just getting checked up in the previous corner, dropping back to 4th. So Reece Carter on the chase, Kieran Lee leading like he did in the first heat, not wanting to make the same mistake he did. Scott Collum back in 4th as the leaders were side by side, having a good look at each other. Stapleton trying to fight back into the top 3 on an absolute charge in the BCP Honda Fox Racing Honda. Out in front as Carter disappeared, Scott Collum went by lead for second, but heat 3 would be Reece Carter's the Moto City Suzuki RMZ 250 from Pampamara in the Bay of Plenty. Carter taking the final heat victory, but Scott Collum with his second place would tie up the Supercross Lights Championship.
Congratulations, Scotty. How does it feel, another Supercross title?
It feels really good, Mikey. 2 years off the bike, and to come back and win a national Supercross title was just, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. I'm really happy with myself and happy with how my bike's gone and how I've ridden and how I've come back from ACL surgery and not dominate, but to get the win. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the New Zealand Motocross Nationals, and yeah, that kind of is crossed off the list. You know, another Supercross title.
So Scott Collum with 2 championships in 3 years on 166 points. Australian Duran Stapleton second on 148. Reece Carter in third on 142.
The big one is the New Zealand Supercross title. You're 15 points in front.
Yeah, it's good points buffer, but you know, it's 3 races. You know, you can DNF one, and that's 20 points if he wins. So it's still not over. And yeah, like I crashed in the first North Island race, so managed to win still, but hurt my knee a bit, but no full damage. So I'm happy about that.
Heat number 1, open class. Cody Cooper looking for the SX title. Diction on board with Nick Saunders. Fantastic view down through the first turn. Cooper with the whole shot. Somewhere out on the left is Josh Coppins. And you can see how physical these Supercross open class bikes are. Cooper with the early advantage, Justin McDonald. Back there in third, chasing down Matt Hunt. No one's really had anything for Cody Cooper other than a couple of glimpses from Justin McDonald and Josh Coppins at the previous round as we go back on board with Saunders. The addiction on board. Saunders in a battle there. Coppins, Howard. Brad Groombridge is in the mix as well. But Cody Cooper just making it look easy. On the Moto City, Fox Racing, Pirelli shot RM450, Suzuki. Behind him, the battle for second. We go back on board with Saunders. Justin McDonald and Matt Hunt going at it for the second spot. Nick Saunders trying to maintain a spot here inside the top six. McDonald got around Hunt. Matt Hunt on the CGM motorcycles, YZ450F out of Gisborne. Justin McDonald on the Timaru Honda CRF 450 out of Christchurch. Taking a big run through the whoops. This Addiction Supercross track in Taupo is just spectacular. 34 there, Matt Howarth, another one of the young Australians. In the 5th place behind Josh Coppins, who really didn't make a lot of progress in this first heat. Taupo was a track he struggled at a little bit last season. Certainly unable to defend his crown.
And number 1 looking to go to Cody Cooper. Justin McDonald not giving up the fight. 15 points down at the start of this first heat, the final round. The Backflips New Zealand Clothing, New Zealand Supercross Championships. In front of a big crowd. You can see the whole track. It's just sort of sat down in a bowl right next door to the Digger McEwen motocross track, which is one of the venues for the upcoming New Zealand Motocross Championships. Certainly looking forward to that one with Cody Cooper and Josh Coppins, Justin McDonald's, hopefully the returning Michael Phillips, who's been injured but helping us out with interviews here this weekend in Taupo, will return. So Cooper, McDonald, Matt Hunt, 1, 2 and 3 for this first heat. Josh Coppins in 4th, Matt Howarth in 5th, Nick Saunders in 6th, carrying our Addiction onboard camera. Back on board with Saunders. Shows you how physical this place is. Best seat in the house with Nick Saunders. Well, arguably Cody Cooper with the best seat in the house, with about a 6-second advantage over Justin McDonald. Another good finish in the second heat should be enough to see Cody Cooper tie up the New Zealand Supercross title in the open class. Cooper taking out the victory in heat number 1, doing it easily. Justin McDonald second.
Solid second place, but what's it going to take to win the next two?
It's just going to take a good start there, Mikey. I'm really looking forward to the next 2 races, and hopefully the weather holds off. But generally, I think it's pretty even out there between everyone. You just got to not get held up by lappers and whatnot, and then be away. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely try and get the start again for sure, and then just figure out from there. Just do the same thing as what I've been doing, and that's all I'm thinking about really. I don't really want to get a bad start, so. I'm just do the same. Got the first gate pick, so just study the gate a bit again and see where it's good.
Certainly the starts are all important. Certainly a win here for Cody Cooper would be enough to tie up the 2012 New Zealand Supercross Championship, brought to you by Backflips Clothing. Again with the whole shot. Flying over the back part of the circuit. Cooper into the lead.
Nick Saunders got a good start in the second heat as well. Cody Cooper just looking to be in cruise control. Matt Howarth, Justin McDonald battled for the second position. Josh Coppins back there in fourth. McDonald and Howard continuing to trade positions. Here's the two different lines we spoke about on the infield. Out wide and narrow, and Coppins took advantage going by McDonald. A three-way battle for second. So Coppins was quiet, certainly in the first heat. Back through the field, Nick Saunders just dropping back a little bit. You can hear the shocks compressing on the landings as Cooper continued to lead, and Coppins battling with Howarth and McDonald still for that second spot. Like we saw with the SX Lights first heat, this is arguably one of the best open races of the summer. Even though Cody Cooper was out in front, McDonald got through to second as Coppins ran a little bit wide and just sunk the rear tyre into the loose dirt, but came back at him through the whoops. And where we've seen McDonald and Cooper throwing block passes into each other through the Supercross champs, Josh Coppins not really willing to get involved. Nice clean passes from the New Zealand motocross and Supercross veteran. The addiction on board with Nick Saunders back in the 7th position. Take the rest of the lap here with Saunders. Double onto the inside of the circuit, tight left-hand hairpin. And see how soft some of the parts of this track are. It is a fabulous setup here at the Addiction Supercross track. Nick Saunders now with a battle on his hands as Brad Groombridge slides up the inside. Cody Cooper out in front. He's got the number 1 on the Suzuki as the reigning New Zealand motocross champion. He's going to do it comfortably and win the second heat. Cooper from McDonald, Coppins in third.
Just trying to finish the day really and try and ride a little bit better by the end of the day. It's not really focused too much on the result, just trying to actually ride better and get used to the dirt a little bit, because we've got some national rounds coming up here and the motocross track, which is similar dirt. So yeah, just tough day, but doing my best.
I think by my calculations you've won the championship, so congratulations. What's the plan for the final moto?
Yeah, well, thanks for that. I think I've won, so we haven't had a final calculation on in the points system, but yeah, I'm just going to win the last one. That's my goal. But you know, these guys at the end, they're starting to push harder at the end now. The track's getting a bit rougher. Just my starts are good, so I just got to focus on that and then sort the rest out after the first corner.
So Cody Cooper, aka Cool Hand Luke, certainly doesn't seem ruffled as he gets another hole shot at the start of heat number 3, having already tied up 2011 New Zealand Supercross Open Class title. Looking for the clean sweep here at the final round, here at the Addiction Supercross track in Taupo. Josh Coppins continued to improve. There's Matt Howard. Fell back through the field, got past there by Nick Saunders. Just got into some of the soft dirt out of that tight left-hander. Cody Cooper, just a machine. Chased by Justin McDonald, certainly, arguably one of New Zealand's most spectacular motocross and supercross riders. He just lets everything hang out. In total contrast to Josh Coppins' smooth riding style. It's Matt Hunt and the Tina Mitchell-Reeves. Battle for the minors. Matrice from Whakatane on the fly showy YZF 450F. Bad Tony, of course, well-known circuit racer with the Superbike Championships and still races to this day. Supporting the Supercross at Matata just before Christmas. Just as we said earlier on, was won by Ben Townley and Cody Cooper and Josh Coppins. Some great racing still right through this field. But Cody Cooper just putting on a display. He's been the benchmark for Supercross in 2012. He was the benchmark in motocross in 2011. Justin McDonald maintaining second. Josh Coppins up into third. McDonald looking to tie up second overall in the championship. Coppins with 2 solid rounds would see him leap up the points chart as well. Well inside the top 5, having not contested the first round at his home track in Motueka. Papamoa's Cody Cooper, number 1 for 2012, 3 from 3 here in Taupo. In SX Open from Justin McDonald and Josh Coppins.
Yeah, no, I'm just real happy to finally get that number 1 in Supercross and then try and retain it this year in motocross. Fitness is real good. Could do a little bit more speed, but you know, I don't want to peak too early. And this motocross series is going to be awesome with Ben and yourself and Justin, Josh, and a few of the Aussies coming over. It's going to be real interesting and prepare us real good for the Australian Nationals.
So the New Zealand Supercross champ Cody Cooper finished on 174 points ahead of Justin McDonald on 150. Matt Hunt taking the final podium on 105 ahead of Josh Coppins and Brad Groombridge. Well, up next it is the New Zealand Motocross Championships. Check out the Motorcycling New Zealand website www.mnz.co.nz to see where the rounds are.